the micro C and the alum.
Okay.
And so if we leave that in automatic, then we can set up the time cycle based on the panel view screen. So, Joe, you mind if I take this off temporarily?
I would take it off.
I would just leave it because I'm just, I think there's plastic on the furniture at home too, so.
Alright, run through a couple of these functions.
Yeah, this is our main overview screen, and there are our hotkeys to get places. So, if you touch, you go into the pump control. But this represents the entire flow of the system. So we come into the equalizer, go through the aeration, anoxic, re-aeration, clarifier, and out in the disinfection tank. We also show the micro C feeding in as we go from the aeration to the anoxic, and we show the alum as we feed from the re-aeration into the clarifier. And all of these are animated points, so these pumps will turn green when they're running. The floats are animated right now. It shows that we're above the low-level shutdown, but we haven't reached the other float yet. We show a float for our high level over on the aerobic digester. Okay. And then we've got our automatic three-way waste valve, and that will animate one way or the other depending on our time cycle there.
Okay.
And then we have our effluent flow, which if you touch anything, it just takes you right to it. Right? So I want to see what the effluent flow is. We'll have an instantaneous float, and we'll have a trend line. And then we have our totalized data. And we have the ability to change our scaling if we're logged in with a proper access level. We can change the transmitter scaling if something changes in the future.
Okay.
Right. And then we could take this trend line and we can go forward and backward in time.
And it's all touchscreen.
And it's all touch. We also have the ability through this previous and next to kind of walk about. So we can just kind of go through and say, what are all the screens that We Do Tanks has given us today? And you go through motor and valve status, everything there is to know about that motor and valve. You can walk through that flow transmitter. You can look at our totalized data for all 30 days of the month. And we can increment through the months. Okay. So we're keeping a year's worth of flow data totalized on a daily basis.
Okay.
Okay. So that's just your little bit of walkabout. But then when you hit each one of these stations, it says, okay, I just hit the equalization chamber. I have two pumps. I can change the lead-lag relationship, or I can let it auto-rotate. So if I put it into manual rotation, it's just going to start with a lead and go to the lag. If I want to put it into auto-rotate, every time it shuts both of them off, it turns them both back on in the opposite order.
Okay.
Auto-rotate. We can put into HMI auto, which would be the normal mode to be in, or we can go to HMI manual, which would be similar to just putting the selector switch in hand position.
Yeah, okay. You get start on transfer pump
if I put it in HMI manual, I go to HMI manual, I can hit the start button, and you'll see that motor's running. If I hit the stop button, once it ramps back down again, it shuts off the pump. So when I start the pump, you get a run command, and then you see that it's running. Oh, is that left over?
Yeah,
okay. And we go back to automatic. And then we've rotated. So now this is now the lead, and that's the lag because we ran that pump.
Okay, let's look at the area of the aeration tank for a moment. Okay.
So here we have the time cycle for our aeration pumps, our aeration motors. And what we have here is called total time. And what we want to enter is, we want to enter into...
you got to log in to change.
Oh, do I need to log into it?
Yep, you got to log in. Remember, those are...
Oh, okay. What's my login?
You can be op 1 or you can be op 1, op 1.
All right. Okay, so I've just logged in with my super user account.
Okay, all right.
If I go back in here now, I can change it.
Do you want me to put the disconnects on these?
Sure. So I can enter in my time cycle. So if I say, well, I want 30 seconds of on time, and I want 30 seconds of off time. What that does...
So you're running.
Okay.
So it starts off with the on time, but because of that 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, it establishes that a cycle timer exists for 60 seconds.
Okay.
Right? If I'd said, well, no, I want 40 seconds of off time, that becomes a total cycle time of 70.
Okay.
But this is the 70 seconds that we're displaying. That's where I went from the on to the off.
Okay.
And then this is the accumulated time that's building up here. So, okay, now I'm in the off time cycle for the 40-second portion of that. And then it resets and starts over, comes back on for 30, back off for 40.
Okay.
And we want to establish what those times are because we're going to burn those to the flash card before we ship the panel.
Okay.
So,
All right.
again, we have the HMI auto or manual, so we can just turn it on manual if we want to. We've got runtime hours for all of the equipment, so we know how much it's been running total forever, or a resettable time. So if we have like a maintenance program we want to do every so many days or months or whatever, we want to lubricate.
Okay.
Right. So then we're back into our off time again, and we're repeating, and then the motor's back on again. So.
And then there's fail to start on everything?
Right. Which will give you that faulted.
Okay.
And see, that's aerator number 2. Aerator number 3. So by pressing the right motor, I'm just configuring each motor.
Okay, I got it. That's
The mixture is the same way. You get the re-aeration tank, can be the same way. Even in the clarifier, we have that, but we would expect that the pump is going to be set up to run on a continuous basis.
Yeah, the pump's going to run continuously
With a VFD.
with the VFD, and then that'll be adjusted based on what the influent flow is, and then the three-way valve is going to waste or not waste, but it'll be, that will run continuously.
So if we have any time base in here at all, with a 0 off time, it's on forever.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So it'll just run. But then you get to this guy and say, well, okay, now what I want to do is I want to control the waste valve, so I want to be able to turn it on a time base. So I go into the waste valve. I've got HMI auto for him, and right now we've got it set for, what does that equate to there?
Well, 14,400 was at 4 hours. It's in the sequence, so it's going to be a total cycle time of 4 hours, and we're going to be on 525 seconds out of 4 hours.
Is it always seconds, or can it be changed to minutes?
Oh, we set it for seconds.
Okay,
Yeah.
so seconds is fine.
Yeah, and in the narrative, we just have it. We actually do some math for you.
Okay.
But this was based on the minutes you had suggested to us
Right.
earlier.
Yeah, because they only use that about maybe 5 minutes every 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah, I think that's about what we got.
Yeah, well, yeah, so just under, it's 8 minutes every 4 hours, because that's just under, 600 seconds would be 10 minutes, so it's just under.
Yeah, and that was done at maximum flow design, at maximum load to the plant. So when it starts up, it's not going to be that much. So it'll have to change based on the load coming into the plant.
Now we're not getting feedback back. Is that?
Yeah, because I don't have a limit switch, a field limit switch here, so I got to fail to open.
So we're showing that we told it to open and it didn't. We're looking for the limit switches to come back to tell us that you told me to go, and I timed out. I didn't make it there.
Okay.
Right? So I can clear the fault, but it's just going to come right back until we get the valve to start working properly. Okay. And that's what it's showing you there, is like, that's the direction I'm trying to go, but it's not giving me a limit switch telling me I'm going that way.
Yeah, because it's not actually hooked up to a valve.
Right.
Yeah. When the valve is in and it's hooked up to the valve, then that will work.
Right. So you get the alarm there that shows up here as our alarm banner, which we can acknowledge that alarm, but it also sends out a text message that you have a fault.
Okay.
So, what else do we have? Have I touched base on pretty much everything?
You did.
Right.
Oh, and